Welcome to Jews for NJ, lighting the candle of engagement. Today, I'm joined by Rabbi Jeremy Ruberg, Rabbi at Temple Emanu-El of Closter, a wonderful person, a friend, my rabbi, and I'm thrilled to have you with us, Rabbi. Should I call you Rabbi or Jeremy?
You know what? For the episode, you can call me Jeremy. I mean, let me put it this way. I didn't exchange my 6-letter name for a 5-letter title, and I'm happy to take Jeremy.
So you've said this to me before.
Yep.
And I'm still going to call you Rabbi.
Yeah, that's fine.
I knew
exactly.
your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's fine.
a lot of people know you. I know you. You know a lot of people, but I don't know that I know as much about you as I should. So I really wanted to start today because I think a lot of us would benefit, and a lot of people in northern New Jersey would benefit from getting to know you better. So can you start out by telling us about your Jewish journey? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where'd you go to camp?
Sure. Yeah.
How'd you get here?
Yeah, a little Jewish geography. So I'm always proud to say that while I was born in Philadelphia, when I was 5, almost actually 6, my father, who was a congregational rabbi, took a job in Norfolk, Virginia. So I actually grew up down south. And my formative years were in Norfolk and went to Jewish day school down there. My father, Rabbi Archie Ruberg, was rabbi of Bethel in Norfolk. My mother, Miriam Braun Ruberg, Jewish educator. So grew up with a lot of Jewish life in our home. I have one sister. Her name is Adina Kosberg. She lives in Columbus, Ohio. My parents have since left the community in Norfolk and moved to Columbus, Ohio. But after I finished my time in Norfolk in high school, I came up to New York. I got into what was called the joint program, Columbia University and the Jewish Theological Seminary. Went there for college, and then decided that after many years of saying I didn't want to be a rabbi, I changed my mind. So I applied to rabbinical school at JTS and completed first my master's in Jewish education, and then my rabbinical degree at JTS.
That's quite a journey to this point. Just interested to know, how is it growing up the son of a rabbi?
Yeah, it's one of those great questions. You know, there's a TV show on right now on Netflix, Nobody Wants This, and it just delves into the world of a rabbi and his dating life and the complexities of that. It also deals with questions of intermarriage and synagogue politics. I wouldn't say my life mirrors that directly for a number of reasons, but I will say that being a son of a rabbi and being a rabbi myself, now I can see some of the missteps that my parents took for me and or the challenges. It's hard sometimes. I mean, the other day I went to the grocery store and I was with my wife, and I think I had slippers on. Or sandals, and I didn't think I was going to see anybody, and I bumped into 2 wonderful congregants like you, Daniel, and totally happy to see them. But you're always sort of being seen and looked at. So you take that on when you take the job, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and why didn't you want to be a rabbi?
So I'll tell you, I think there's a certain amount that every kid has. They look at their parents and say, I want to be like them, and a certain amount that you have, and you say, there's no way I ever want to be like them or don't want to make those choices. And I think I always knew in the back of my mind, I loved being Jewish. I loved living an observant Jewish life. I enjoyed teaching about Judaism. But I thought maybe I wanted to do something different. I don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be my mom. Let me be my own person. Later in college years, I realized I could still be my own person and create my own rabbi persona that doesn't have to mirror exactly what my parents did. But I also can do some of the things they did in it with great meaning. So I didn't want to also because it's hard being a rabbi sometimes. In fact, I'd say it's very hard. I don't know if you know this, Daniel. There's a real shortage of rabbis out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to convince the next generation to be a part of Jewish leadership because of the scrutiny that we're all facing. My dad, back in the day, would go into his office once a day to check his messages. Well, I get emailed all the time. That's changed, and we're on call all the time, and we're always available for better or for worse.
Okay, so if you weren't a rabbi, what would you have been?
Oh man, what would I have been? It's like going back to kindergarten. I wanted to be a fireman when I was little, and then I had dreams.
Did you really?
I did. When I was in kindergarten, I drew a picture. I said, I want to be a fireman, but I'm actually have no interest in that at all. I considered law school in college, but I didn't want that lifestyle, ironically, because rabbinic life isn't necessarily a whole lot easier than some of my lawyer friends. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm probably a teacher in a school, which I already do. I teach at Solomon Schechter once a week here in Bergen County. I teach in our religious school at Temple Emanu-El. Probably a school teacher of some sort. Or working on a college campus at a Hillel, most likely too. I did that, and I worked at Rutgers Hillel for a couple years.
And what is your connection? Because you have a connection to Camp Ramah in the Berkshires?
No, this is Camp Ramah in New England.
In New
Palmer,
England.
you have named the wrong camp in this case, but that's okay.
Both great camps.
Yeah, they're both great camps. There's a running rivalry, but I don't ascribe to that rivalry really. The whole Boston, New York thing. Yankees, Red Sox, it plays out in nasty ways sometimes.
You're not a Red Sox fan.
No. Ironically, my backstory really goes even further because I'm originally from Philadelphia. Philadelphia sports is what I was indoctrinated with by my father. I will say this, it wasn't always easy being a Philadelphia fan. In the last few years, it hasn't been so hard. The Eagles won the Super Bowl last year.
So I have to interject.
Yeah.
And I say this for my professional team.
Yep.
We have a team in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent 20 years plus going down to Philadelphia. And the people of Philadelphia are a unique group.
Yeah.
And I would say the ethos of the city changed materially after they won their first Super Bowl. There was a underlying anger.
Yes.
And
definitely
it subsided.
Yep.
And then you could see it re-emerging and then winning another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm very happy for that.
I would say this. I think there's an intensity to the Philadelphia sports fan that comes out of years of angst and losing. I think similarly to some Boston fans, by the way, going until the Red Sox, I felt that as well. There was sort of an absorbed sense of we are losers and this stinks, but we're still very proud. And Philadelphia fans, similarly, I used to have a widget on my old Mac that was the cheesesteak of sorrow. How many days since the Philadelphia had won a championship? Well, the Phillies eradicated that in 2008. But it wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same.
Now, the Eagles, there's a certain piece of it. Now, granted, I haven't lived in Philadelphia a long time, but there's a real hold that the Eagles have, particularly on Philadelphia.
So you were saying, I interrupted, but Ramah in New England.
So Ramah, New England, I went to Palmer, as they call it, from 1994 to 2012. I was there a long time. Really formative experience for me, leadership-wise, friendship-wise.
1994 to 2012.
Yes. I worked as a camper and through staff.
Wow.
Yeah, every year.
That's incredible.
Very dedicated, love the place. And then after 2012, I was going back as I was ordained as a rabbi in 2010. And then in 2012, I was still in New City, New York, working at New City Jewish Center, wonderful congregation that I still have great relationships with. And they let me go up each summer to teach. It just got too hard to maintain that. And then I met this wonderful woman named Rebecca, who's now my wife, and got married, family, and it's just become harder to return. So I have not since returned to Camp Ramah in New England, though I've spent time at other Ramah camps with great pride and joy.
Do you think your kids will end up going there?
Oh man, now you've touched on a really controversial topic for me. I don't know. I'll say this, like every parent, I want what's best for my kid. So both my children, I have a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. Let's see how they grow up. Would I love them to? Sure. But I also know they may not want that. They may have friends elsewhere. And developmentally, maybe they're somewhere else. I don't know. But it would be a dream for me, but maybe not for them. We'll see.
So you came to the northern New Jersey community.
Yeah.
Remind me, what, almost 10 years ago?
Oh, not even. It's crazy. Remember COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I came right before COVID in July of 2019.
And you joined Temple Emanu-El as the Rabbi of Lifelong Learning.
Yeah, so the fancy title Rabbi for Lifelong Learning is one that doesn't summarize, I think, what I really do, which is I teach a lot, I educate a lot, but I oversee all the educational opportunities and portals at Temple Emanu-El. So lots of things that are in my space, but I share also with Rabbi David Seth Kirshner, along with Cantor Singer, as well as with Rabbi Gabe Cohen. We share a lot of them, but my big purview is youth programming, family programming, and religious school.
And I love that you teach at Solomon Schechter, so your reach is pretty wide within our community.
Yeah, and I get on the like in the weeds what kids are talking about and what they're doing. And I work with 5th graders, and man, they're a special, wonderful breed. I got to tell you, 5th graders are amazing. They're like just maturing enough, but they're still kids. And it's a really interesting space to see what kids and nowadays are thinking, talking about, and how they're learning.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah.
What are kids in that type of age group starting to think about? What are they seeing as it relates to Jewish life?
So Jewish life is fascinating because, first of all, that's a Jewish day school. I'll contrast it only slightly to the public schools students in private school who are not Jewish at our religious school, which is to say they all have the same amount of access and information to the same amount of things. Right now with phones and computers, it used to be they can all access the same stuff, Jewishly and otherwise. Everything's at their fingertips. So both can get the same amount of information and misinformation. The main difference is in a Jewish day school environment, it could be filtered by teachers and administrators who can help them to go through it regularly, which is why I find religious school so important now, because they can take that information that they are finding on Instagram, that they're seeing on TikTok, and they can bring those questions to a religious space, to a Jewish space. So that's something that we're able to do. But they're seeing everything. They hear everything. We think our kids aren't here. They hear it. They know it.
Yeah, it's one of the big questions I really had for you, which is, kids, and we'll start with the younger kids, and I also want to then get to the older kids, but the younger kids, we live in a challenging time, to say the least. So I mentioned the name of the episode, Lighting the Candle. Mm-hmm. We're in that Hanukkah season as we're recording this right now, and during the season, we've just over the last several days had some pretty horrific events.
Yeah.
And pretty sadly, we could say that at many different points over the last several years, certainly since October 7th, 2023, when we think about the kids and how the younger kids are absorbing what they're hearing at home, what they're seeing online, let's start with the Jewish day school kids, mm-hmm. and maybe it's the same as the kids that are seeing it who are coming to religious school. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing or what you're hearing from them.
So what I love the most about the world that we live in, and I say this with optimism, is the amount of questions that kids have. That because they're exposed to so much, they have so many things to ask in a way that maybe there were in prior generations, but it was filtered a lot through media that they couldn't access. Newspapers, for instance, right? How many of us grew up on Sunday morning, your parents, when you got the Times, or, my parents would take the newspaper, right? And they'd read the adult stuff, and I would grab the comics, right? I would go look and read the funny stuff. Maybe the TV section, right? Or sports. That was about it. I did love news as a dorky kid, but most kids did not. Nowadays, the media that these kids are accessing for their kid stuff also has adult stuff. And it's not just like previews at a movie theater where sometimes you get the stuff that's like, if you're at a PG-13 movie, you might get something which is a little risque for a kid. The way that they're accessing media, they can get everything. So my daughter, who's 6 years old, when October 7th happened, for instance, said, Abba, what happened? Like she heard, we couldn't hide it. So we had to tell her there were bad guys in Israel. There were bad guys who went in and hurt Jewish people. To which my 4-year-old son now has asked, Aliza, are there still bad guys? And Aliza can say yes, meaning we could not keep her from that. So that's the big thing, is that the filtering is harder to do, and yet the questions are better. They have more to ask about.
Kids are incredible.
Yeah.
And we have, as you know, 2 kids who are older.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you work across the age range, and my daughter is 18.
Oh my God, she's how old now?
Yeah, she's almost 19.
I still remember in Hebrew school when we were asking, what you want to do for your bat mitzvah project and talking about that. Yeah. It feels like it was yesterday, but obviously not.
She's in college.
Wow.
And we have had significant issues on college campuses.
Right.
Including this week.
Sure.
But how do we, and I think, I think parents who are listening want answers or want ideas in how to interact with their kids, their young adults, whether they're in high school, whether they're in college. how do we engage with our young people to help them, to help them be their best self, to help them be their best Jewish self?
Look, I'm no expert. I think all of us as parents are sort of figuring it out as we go, right? There's no guide, but I think there's a couple of truths that are out there. The first one is kids will follow their heart as much as you let them, right? So to some degree, they're going to follow, if they have a Jewish soul and a Jewish heart, they're going to find something Jewish on campus that they want to, or in life as well. The other one is that we as parents can only take them so far. And there's something about us wanting our kids. My dad, Rabbi Ruberg, and I quote him all the time because I learned so much from him. He once gave a sermon on how we want our kids to be just as religious as us, no less and no more. And you might have some pride in it or disappointment, but we really want them to be like us. And that also is easier. And to know that our kids may not think like us, talk like us, or act like us. So once we can accept that piece, I think it's a little easier Jewishly. So will they marry someone Jewish? They may or may not. Will they go to Hillel or Chabad on campus? Who knows? We as parents have to be accepting of that. The question is, how do we react to that? How do we respond to that? And I will say the best response now is a question. Tell me more, right? So when they choose something, they're telling you something. Ask them, what are you trying to tell me by that choice? Let them respond to you.
It's brilliant. That's a brilliant point. The asking more, the digging deeper. And, we hear a lot. And the reason we're doing this podcast or vlogcast, whatever
you want to call
whatever this actually is to create Jewish engagement, to meet people where they are, whether they're affiliated, whether they're unaffiliated, Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Israeli, American. We want engagement. We need engagement. And one of the pieces we've heard a lot about is sending your kids to Jewish day school. And I think I went to Jewish day school.
I do. Yeah.
So in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my twin brother and I went. It was an extremely meaningful experience, but my kids did not go to Jewish day school, as you know. And I know that's not the answer, going to Jewish day school for all families. So we need to have solutions in bringing kids into our Jewish world. And you're right. I want my kids to be exactly as Jewish as I am.
Right.
You're so right. And it's constantly disappointing when they're this or that. And so I love your point about asking questions as to why you're engaging or why we're doing things. But it's a real struggle. And I'll come back to this in a minute, but I do want to pause. And I want to thank the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey for sponsoring this podcast. I want to encourage you to all go to jewsfornj.org and sign up. This is your chance. This is our chance to engage together as one, to be unified as one, just as Rabbi Ruberg and I are talking about. jewsfornj.org. I want you to share this podcast, this YouTube, the Instagram reel, whatever you're watching this on. Share this with your friends. Have them sign up. We've got to come together. We've got to be united. And this is your way of engaging. This is a way of engaging. So going back, Rabbi, to what we were saying about asking our kids to engage in a way that is meaningful to them. You mentioned religious school. And are we seeing an uptick in religious school engagement? And do you think that's because of October 7th and the anti-Semitism we're facing? Like, how do you think about where we are?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing higher engagement in Jewish life across the board since October 7th. There's been much talked about the surge of participation across the board, denominationally, synagogue attendance, religious school attendance, programming. But I think there's something even deeper. I think that there is a new generation of people, and I think part of it's COVID, which is still looking to connect to other people. And screens are not it. And we use screens. Screens have their purpose. We're using one now. I mean, we're using that media. But people are looking for other human beings. And we know that loneliness is at a very high level. So I encourage parents, I encourage us to look at what are the ways that we can reach people. But I'm also going to make an ask of the listener and of the viewer. which is to not be afraid to try it. You know, I will say there's what I call the gym theory, right? Why do people not go to the gym? Well, what are the reasons? One,
It's hard to get started.
it's hard to get started, right?
It hurts.
It hurts. It's hard. It's difficult. I've never done it. I'm out of shape.
Yeah.
I'm like, we think about how we used to be. All right. So that's number one. What's another reason people don't go to gyms?
They're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed. You don't want people to be like, oh my God, they don't know how to use the machine. Look how light their weights are. Look how wimpy they are, right? And the other one is cost, right? I don't want to pay. All right, I'll look for the low cost one, but the low cost, look at those machines. They're kind of meh, right? I want to be at the nice gym, but man, that's like a lot of money, right? I think synagogue and I think Jewish life engagement, it's the exact same, right? Yeah. So number one, you got to get over the fear of trying something, okay? Are you going to get judged? I mean, maybe by a few people, but ignore them, right? But most of the people, they don't care. In fact, they're happy you're there. The gym I used to belong to used to greet me every time. The JCC, when I go here in northern New Jersey, I get a wave, I get a hello, and then the more you go, the more they greet you, right? They're happy to see you. I think it's the same. Don't be afraid to go to your local Jewish institution and say, you know what, I haven't done this in a long time. No one's going to judge you for it. So I'm going to make that ask of the listener, and that goes for all of us. And that's the same with kids. Like, oh, I don't know about starting Hebrew school, or man, a Jewish day school sounds a little scary to me. Try it. We're all here to welcome you. Maybe in the olden days, they were a little less welcoming, but not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my experience. Have we ever talked about, do you work out?
You know what? I got to tell you, I'm going to be open, honest. I'm on my Peloton all the time. I love cycling, but I haven't hit weights as much. And I've been a little bit reticent to go back to the weights for exactly the reason I brought up, which is, oh man, I used to be in good shape. And now it's like, dad life.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. So I actually can't believe I didn't work out for years.
Yeah.
And probably 4 years ago now, I went on January 2nd with Jillian to my wife to her trainer. I worked out. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I went back another time. Yeah, a few days later, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I can't do anything. This is horrific. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to start doing push-ups. And I could only do 8 push-ups.
Only 8? That's a lot. That's good. I mean, for some people, I don't know.
Well, I did fine. I was able to do, I guess that was good.
Overachiever,
I did 8, but I said, you know what? I'm going to add 1 push-up a day.
There you go.
Every day, and just start building the muscle. And I started doing that. And every day, until I was doing like 150 push-ups in a row. And I showed my kids. Yeah. They were then hypercritical. That
kids
I wasn't
hypercritical? Never.
I wasn't going down all the way. It wasn't really a real push-up.
Yeah.
It was outrageous. Right. So I had to restart over at 50. And then I realized, okay, maybe I'm going to hurt my shoulder. This was after almost a year. But I then started adding, okay, I'm going to do biceps. And literally, it's now been 3 or 4 years. And I work out 5 days a week.
There you go.
And it's like obsessive. So your point about going to synagogue or going to the JCC or going to whatever Jewish institution and just getting into it.
And even if it's other Jewish things, right? It could be watching a Jewish movie, right? I don't know enough Hebrew. I hear that all the time. We have a lot of Israelis who live in the area, right?
Yeah.
And there's a large Israeli community. And I will tell you, a lot of the Americans don't feel that they can necessarily talk to because they don't know their language. They don't know our language, so to speak. And even though we're all Jewish, right? But try, right? There are courses you can take and you don't have to learn fluent Hebrew. Maybe just go into Tenafly, right? And it just, you can see Hebrew written in places just to know enough to do that and to read or to say something that connects you with other Jews. You got to start somewhere to get somewhere.
And I really think your point about like people post-COVID, and that it's really, we're, I think, of different generations technically, but I would say
I don't know. I think we're closer than you think.
Okay. Well, I would say really the 30 to 40-year-old crew are awesome people. And they want to hang out and they want to engage and they want to be involved in the community. And there's so much opportunity, I think, for engagement and being powerful. And I think it's really up to each one of us to begin to form our leadership capability. And I've really seen exceptional things from that group of age. I'm 48, about to be 49. But what I'm seeing from the 30 to 40 year olds, the desire to engage in, the desire to have an impact. And I really want to encourage everybody that you can really do something. Showing up is the first part of it. And that is a huge deal, just to show up. And I think it just is, I think it's critical that people start really doubling and tripling down. And if you're already deeply engaged, grabbing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 friends. And I know, like, one of the initiatives, the communal initiatives, is Shabbat dinners. That I actually know it's not just unique to Temple Emanu-El.
Oh, we got it from other places. We got the idea from many other synagogues, both in Bergen County and across the country. Yeah.
And so that initiative is essentially creating Shabbat dinner for groups of people to be together.
Sure. Yeah, we're looking to create micro communities within our own community. But Daniel, to your point about leadership, I'm an ordained rabbi, right? I am a leader in the Jewish community, at least in name for sure, and hopefully beyond that.
Very much,
right?
More than name.
But I have committed my life to that, and I would say someone like yourself, who has taken on a lay leadership role, you've committed your life to that too. But you have a professional life which is independent of that. And I think what's important for anyone who's listening, and I really believe this, is we need more Daniels. Right? We need more people like you, who are said, I grew up in this way and I want to transmit it this way. So Daniel, you shared with me, how did you end up getting involved with Federation? I don't actually know that. Like,
really?
Yeah, I don't actually know your Federation. So I know you from synagogue, I know your kids, but how'd you get involved with Federation?
So, okay, so I will share the story. We had just moved. We moved to New Jersey in 2007. It was probably, give or take, 2010. I received a phone call on a Super Sunday.
The old Super Sundays.
Super Sundays.
And you got a phone call from the phone bank?
Yeah, so the Federation called and they said the person of blessed memory, Len Cole, was a beautiful, beautiful man. And he said, I'd like to talk to you about Jewish Federation and whether you'd consider a gift. I have no idea how they got my number.
Okay.
In any case, I said, and this is where I wince a little bit. Basically, I just wanted to get off the phone. So I said, well, in reality, I've had a long history. My family's been involved with Jewish Federation for like 100 years. And so I'd love to do a lot more than just give on the phone right now. And so from my end, I was probably watching football and I just wanted to go. On Len's side, Len jumped up from the bank. He's like, I've got a live one here.
You heard it?
But I've heard the story from the people who
That's
were there,
amazing.
from Dr. Tzvi Marins and from others. And Len, of course, immediately followed up.
Right.
He was so amazing. And I have a 100-year history with my family in Chicago's Federation, in Milwaukee's Federation. And I think it was subconscious that I wanted to do, and I wanted to be involved very much so in the community. We had, at the time, a 3 and 1 year old, and that really started my Jewish journey. And I also think, and we're either wrapping up 2025 or we're just starting 2026, depending on when one's looking at it. Like, this year has been absolutely exceptional from my perspective. And I say that because we have done so much with work in my professional life. And at the same time, I've had the incredible opportunity through my role at Jewish Federation, through my role at Temple Emanu-El, to spend so much time engaging with so many interesting people around northern New Jersey and around the world, around Jewish life. And I am super excited about the potential we have, but it comes down to the fact that it's each one of us. And as busy as I was at work, the more busy I was at work, actually, the more I was able to do in my communal, my philanthropic life. And that seems like weird or kind of opposed, but there's a saying, it's like, if you have something important to do, give it to a busy person. I butchered that, but it's true. And so I think there's a lot of people who who have so much capacity to help and to engage their friends. And those people are super busy. And I would say you can absolutely add a little bit more. And what comes back at you is so powerful and so uplifting. It gives you even more energy. And I also think there's lots of people who are inclined or afraid or don't want to engage, just as you were saying, where just reach out. Go to the JCC.
You know, there's what they call in the social media word lurkers. You know who those are? The people who you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and you don't post, you're just watching.
Isn't that voyeurs?
I mean, you could call it that.
You didn't want to use the word voyeur.
Well, I think yes. I mean, effectively, that's what they're doing. But it's more than that, because if you are seeing it, means that the algorithm caught on that's of interest to you. They want to know about it. They just may not be the ones who want to talk about it or post about it or share about it. And I will tell you, we have a lot of Moseses in the Jewish world, right? Leaders. We also need more Israelites. We need more in numbers. We need more who say, I want to be a part of the community. Maybe I'm not a leader of it, but I want to be in the community. I want to be counted as a part of that. And there's so many ways you can do that.
Well, and you just said being counted is what we've said for Jews for NJ, is we want to be able to show our numbers. We have 609,000 Jews in New Jersey, 125,000 in northern New Jersey. We need to be counted because that matters when we're talking about our state legislature and anti-Semitism. It matters when it comes to working with our police and all of our city councils, our Board of Educations. We've got to be counted. So Jews for NJ, and I'd go to jewsfornj.org. That's a way to be able to say, we want to be counted. And I love the people, to your point, who say, Daniel, I want to be involved, but I don't want to do, I don't want to do what you're doing. And that's great. There's no judgment. And I actually was sad when you said, you didn't like that you were in your slippers.
Yeah.
Like what you do, the amount that you do for our community, people love you. You are so inspiring and engaging. Like, it's my opinion. And of course, you get two of us together and we'll have three opinions. But
Exactly.
It's my opinion. Wear whatever you want to the store. You deserve your private time. Don't worry about that. Everyone loves you. We love you. You're helping our kids. You're helping our families navigate really uncharted territory for all of us. And so don't worry about it.
All right, I won't worry about it too much.
Judgment.
Thank you. So
and
I
maybe there's a little judgment.
Maybe a little bit, and that's okay too. It's all right. It's good to be held to high standards as well. So I'm not against that either. But I do feel very let me put it this way: it was an illustration of how comfortable I feel in the community now, and I could just go out and wear my sweatshirt and jeans. And normally I would be wearing that if I didn't have a meeting before this, but I actually do love myself a good hoodie, nice and comfy.
Yeah, I think this is my Jews for NJ.
That's what I was gonna say. It's all logoed up. You're all branded.
Yeah,
looking
so
beautiful.
we need to get you a Jews for NJ.
I will wear
sweatshirt.
that hoodie.
We actually are selling them on our website, jewsfornj.org. We've got a bunch of swag on there for people who want to.
I have some of the swag. There's some very good swag. I have a jar. I have a bumper sticker. I got pens. I got all sorts of stuff. It's all over.
You got the special rabbi tie.
I did. So there are perks to being a rabbi. I will say that. As hard as it is, there are perks. There are times which it's really nice. I mean, there's a certain amount of socialization you get. So loneliness is never an issue to speak. But in terms of, access to wonderful people, and honestly, holiday times are really special for rabbis because as much as we're working, we get to be doing those special things. I'll say another one that people don't really realize. Yom Kippur is not as hard for us if you're on a bima. Because we're not counting pages.
This is like behind the scenes.
We're working,
now.
right? So if you're a pulpit, and I speak this for those who are in congregational life, if you're running a service, and even if you're not a rabbi and you're running a service, you're engaged in it in a way that no one else is. Your brain is constantly going on, who's the next honor, who's coming up, do I know that person's name? So I ain't thinking about food, and we're busy.
I've always suspected that the rabbis are eating. Don't
tell me those names. I don't want to have to report them to the Rabbi Grand Council.
I'm just kidding. Always thought that because I don't understand. Like, you start the fast earlier.
Sure.
You end it later.
We do.
And you're saying it's really the adrenaline.
It's adrenaline.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful adrenaline. Those holidays are really uplifting. No matter how big or how small or how remote or how urban your community is, that's when you get to see everybody and you do come together. And that's what we're talking about today. And there's something in the power of those moments and the themes of the beginning of the new year. And it applies to a lot of Jewish life. Doing things with other people is more fun. It just is. And yes, I love myself a good quiet Shabbat dinner. My family doesn't get it often. We love those nights. But there's nothing about that can compare to the energy of some of these holidays. In particular, I'd say like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Hanukkah, and to some extent, definitely Purim. The numbers, just the seeing the throngs of Jews being together, no matter, again, or just mounts of Jews doing something together, celebrating, or even sometimes lamenting, that can bring people together. It's just really special.
No, you're getting me all fired up. I'm like, let's go to synagogue. I suspect everybody else is feeling
if
the
it's
same
not
way.
synagogue, and I mean this, go to something Jewish. If you're going to get fired up about going to the Jewish basketball league, same thing. Yeah. Being a part of community, it's something that you can't create on your own. The reason I bring up COVID is I think we've forgotten about COVID. I really do. I think a lot of the lessons of COVID have been lost, right? The kindness and understanding towards teachers, gone, right? We're back to, why haven't you done this for me? Why haven't you done this for me? Teachers get it tough. And I mean both public school and private school, right? There's been a little bit about attendance. I'm burned out. There's too many things. Remember COVID? There wasn't as much. So I think we've forgotten the lessons, but the one I want to bring it back to is the lessons of being in person. Coming, being at places. We were so grateful when we reopened. I remember I telling Emanu-El when we opened for Minyan again. Oh my goodness, Minyan. Who gets excited about 10 people Minyan, right? But for us, it was really exciting. And similarly, holidays, right? Reopening. Let's remember those lessons about coming and being in person.
Yeah, no, it's true. Being together is what we need to be. And the challenges we're facing, and I think I was saying this to you earlier. I've been saying it to a few people after I went on a terrible rant yesterday, like almost like an angry rant. And I know there's so many of us who are feeling angry and sad and distant, and being together, that connectivity, it is healing. And there's places, even in sadness and in anger, where you can feel the joy and you can feel the relief. And it's such a special part about being Jewish is we have this Jewish family. And I think actually the message I'm taking away is not to judge. And I think if I were going to say from everything we've been talking about, the most important thing is don't judge yourself. Don't judge other people. Just show up. Don't judge your kids. Don't judge your rabbi. Just
yes,
show
you heard
up.
that, everyone? Please be kind to your rabbi.
Show up. Let's bring love to each other. Yep. We need to be united. We certainly have so much that we are facing to be able to unite. And we agree, I suspect, on 75 to 80% of issues. Let's focus on those. To your point, let's focus on gratitude of being able to be here, to be in person, to be alive,
right,
to be able to raise families. We have so much to be grateful for, but let's do it together. We need to double and triple that.
And let's not forget about constructive conversation. There's space for disagreement. Unity doesn't mean total agreement, right? I don't think anyone believes that the United States of America are in total agreement, but we are still the United States of America. And that is in and of itself a testament to the nature of the country that's been built here. And the fact that we Jews can participate is also a testament to the united nature of this country. But constructive conversation is something that I think we Jews need to remember deeply, not only as a people, but also with our kids. And to bring it back to that for a moment, something I think is important to bring up, and I didn't mention before, which is that too often I hear from parents who will say, they'll say, why is my kid doing X, Y, or Z? Or why aren't they doing? Why have they chosen this Jewishly and not that? And I'll ask them, did you talk to them about it? Or did you tell them what matters to you? And more common than not, I'll hear parents say, well, they know. They know. Well, how do they know? Well, one way they could know is by action. And if you do something regularly, they do get to see it. So being a part of Federation, a synagogue, belonging to a JCC, right? Hebrew culture, right? But there's another way. Explicitly telling your family what matters to you whether that be in a living will and testament, or whether that be actually through a family sit down, or perhaps over a family meal, telling them this is what matters. And I will divert for one moment. My father the other day, God bless him, he lived for many years, told me that he definitely wants me to say Kaddish for him, but he really wants to make sure that I say I come for Yizkor for him. I said, Dad, why? Why does Yizkor, the memorial prayers that are said only a couple times a year? He said, because that's when everyone's there, not just Kaddish, which is daily, which might be with a small crew of people, but Yizkor is the community. He says, I want to feel that you're remembering me with community. I said, Dad, you never told, I would never have known that. You hadn't told me explicitly.
It's such an important point in my experience in life. And I think this can be useful to, hopefully, to a lot of people, or whoever listens to this. Could be a few people.
Yeah, who knows?
So most people are not explicit.
Right.
And they're not explicit in their plans. And like Jillian and I were talking about this last night after a great dinner we had with some good friends, is, I think one of the superpowers I have is being explicit with what my plans are. And my father, of blessed memory,
Sure.
He, who passed away at 92 years old last year, wonderful life. And he said in his final days, I won. I have an amazing family. I've had an amazing life. But the reason he did was he said, come up with a long-term plan. What are you trying to be? What are you trying to do with respect to your community, with respect to your reputation? Who is it that you're trying to be? And I think for the children, what are you trying to help your kids become? What is important to you? As you said, being explicit this is what's important to us. This is where we would like, this is where we would like you to be. Now, they may reject it.
They might.
My kids are constantly rejecting most things. They may ignore them.
Especially teenagers and college students. Their job is to reject you. You know that, right? Because they're trying to form their own identity. Yeah. So it's very hard. We expect of them, why aren't they? I raised them to do this, or we did this in our home. They're trying to find themselves, and they may well come back to it, or they may find their own form of it. But that's their job.
I have to say, I'm maybe throwing my kids.
I have a feeling you're using it.
Yeah,
I know your
great.
kids.
Yeah, they're great, yeah. And but they're also difficult. They're like every kid's.
They should be,
kids, which is wonderful. The point is, you're so right to set out. What are we doing explicitly? What are we trying to be explicitly? I know you have a big party to get to tonight.
I do. I'm very excited for it.
I want to thank you for taking the time
Absolutely.
to sit down with us. You're amazing. You're an amazing leader, light for the community. We thank you. I thank you for everything you do. Thank you for taking the time. It's great to have talked again today. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, sign up at jewsfornj.org. We'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much.
That was great.
You're the best.